Nate. How's life? I don't know. It's alright. I've been dealing with some things like every human being and really didn't sleep much last night. I'm sorry. That's fine. I just think I need a little me time. I just think I need a little free time. Little break from the shows and the bus rides. Yeah. Last year I had a breakdown. Thoughts telling me I'm lost, getting too loud. Had to see a therapist and I found out something funny's going on up in my house. Yeah, started thinking maybe I should move out. You know, pack my car, take a new route. Clean up my yard, get the noose out. Hang up my heart, let it air out. I've been searching. What does that mean, Nate? I've been learning. Grabbing my keepsakes, leaving my burdens. Well, I brought a few with me. I'm not perfect. Looking at the view like this concerns me. Picking up the cues right, I'm quite nervous. Hate it when I lose sight, life gets blurry and things might hurt me. It's probably gonna be a long journey, but it's worth it though. Cold world out there, kids, grab your coats. Been a minute, I know, now I'm back to Rome. Looking for the antidote to crack the code. Pretty good, I admit it, I'm in classic mode. Don't need pity given to me, but I can't condone. Talking down to me, I'ma have to crack your nose for cracking jokes. I'm looking for the map, the hope, you see that? Been making a whole lot of changes. Wrote a song about that, you should play it. I get scared when I walk on these stages. I look at the crowd and see so many faces. Yeah, that's when I start to get anxious. That's when my thoughts can be dangerous. That's when I put on my makeup and drown in self-hatred. Forget what I'm saying and where'd the beat go? Oh, ain't that something? Drums came in, you ain't see that coming. Hands on my head, can't tell me nothing. Got a taste of the fame, it'll pump my stomach. Throw it back up like I don't want it. Wipe my face, clean up my vomit. OCD trying to push my buttons. I said don't touch it, now y'all done it. I can be critical, never typical. Intricate with every syllable, I'm a criminal. Intimate but never political, pretty visual. Even if you hate it, I make you feel like you're in it though. You call me what you want, but never call me forgettable. Leave you deep in thought, I can never swim in the kiddie pool. Waited, I've been thinking the cinematic is beautiful. Man, I don't know if I'm making movies or music videos. Yeah, the sales can rise, doesn't mean much though when your health declines. See, we've all got something that we trapped inside that we try to suffocate, you know, hoping it dies. Try to hold it underwater, but it always survives. And it comes up out of nowhere like an evil surprise. Then it hovers over you to tell you millions of lies. You don't relate to that? Must not be as crazy as I'm. The point I'm making is the mind is a powerful place, and what you feed it can affect you in a powerful way. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah, but it's not always safe. Just hang with me, this'll only take a moment, okay? Just think about it for a second. If you look at your face every day when you get up and think you'll never be great, you'll never be great. Not because you're not, but the hate will always find a way to cut you up and murder your faith. I've been developing, take a look at the benefits. Nothing to meddle with, I can never be delicate. My irrelevant, that depends how you measure it. Take a measurement to back it up and give me the evidence. Pretty evident, dependable, can never be tentative. I'm a gentleman, depending on if I think you're genuine. Pretty elegant, but not afraid to tell you to get it. Grip proper etiquette, I keep it to myself when I celebrate, huh? It's that time again. Better grab your balloons and invite your friends. Seat belts back on, yeah, strap them in. Look at me, everybody, I'm smiling big. On a road right now that I can't predict. Tell me tone that down, but I can't resist. Y'all know that sound, better raise your fist. The search begins, I'm back, so enjoy the trip, huh?
If you smell what The Rock is cooking. The Rock says, The Rock says. The Rock says, The Rock.
Voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me. You got your rules and your religion, all designed to keep you safe. But when rules start getting broken, you start questioning your faith. I have a voice that is my savior, hates to love and loves to hate. I have a voice that has the knowledge and the power to your fate. I hear voices crying, I see heroes dying.
Hello and welcome to a special end of year edition of the WWE Wrestling Talk Show with Rock Jones and
Sean Randy Smith, and as 2021 comes to a close, as we always do on these shows, it's time to look back in the year of WWE in 2021.
now the idea behind this is to focus on the pay-per-view results and major storylines that are happening, and if we have time we'll include a few things from NXT and when WWE decided to go all on their talent. But as most WWE years do, with the exception of this one coming up, all things kick off at the Royal Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. So, the year started out with the Royal Rumble and everyone's favourite virtual fans in the ThuderDome. Now, with the Royal Rumble, we had a few title matches. In fact, every match was a title match except for the two Royal Rumble matches.
Yes.
Including the now unemployed Nia Jax. Teaming with Shayna Baszler to win back the women's tag team titles from Charlotte and Asuka, who'd won them at the 2019 TLC pay-per-view.
Yes. We also had Drew McIntyre retaining his WWE Championship against Goldberg
In a match which kind of came out of nowhere, if I remember correctly. But that's your stick.
Hey, yeah. Okay.
Sasha Banks would retain the SmackDown Women's Championship over Carmella, who at the time was being accompanied by Reggie.
Yeah. We also had the 13-woman Royal Rumble match for a women's championship match at WrestleMania 37.
Yes. Which we're not going to go through every single entrant like we would normally do at the Royal Rumble shows. We'll save that for the 2022 Royal Rumble show.
Yes. Which Bianca Belair won this year's Royal Rumble by last eliminating Rhea Ripley.
Yes, and were a few surprises in this Rumble match, including appearances by Jillian Hall,
Victoria.
Lisa Fox, and we even had a few 24/7 championship changes in this match.
Yes, with Alicia Fox winning the championship, but as soon as she got eliminated, she lost it to R-Truth.
Then we started off with the first of many defenses throughout the year of the tribal chief, head of the table, Mr. Jackass himself,
We apologise for that language.
Roman Reigns, with his then special counsel Paul Heyman. We'll get into that as we go through this show.
Defeating Kevin Owens to retain the Universal Championship. With a little bit of a botch in there as well.
And a little bit of help from the Usos.
Yes. But then we had the men's Royal Rumble match. Match at WrestleMania.
This match was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
Because we all remember what happened at the greatest wrestling match ever.
Oh, that's just okay.
With Edge and Randy Orton. Edge getting injured in that match.
Yes.
Edge would then return here at the Royal Rumble, where he and Randy Orton would be the first two competitors. Let's just say they ended up brawling all over the place. Orton was taken to the back for most of the match.
Whilst Edge got back in the ring and continued the match.
Yes, and whilst Orton attempted to sneak up out of nowhere, he would lastly be eliminated by Edge, sending Edge to WrestleMania. Also in this match, we had special appearances from Carlito, still spitting in the face of people he doesn't want to be cool.
Hurricane Helms.
The now main roster and United States champion Damian Priest. The mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane.
Yes, glad to see him back in the ring.
The traitor known as Christian.
Yes.
And the not so employed by WWE anymore, Braun Strowman.
Yes, unfortunately.
So that would guarantee Edge and Bianca Belair matches at WrestleMania. Now, things got a little bit complicated with WrestleMania, especially on the SmackDown side, when we got to the Elimination Chamber.
Yes. Still in the ThuderDome at this point.
Yes. So first of all, we had the Elimination Chamber match to decide who would immediately face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Ultimately won by Daniel Bryan, who would immediately get squashed by Roman Reigns. This would then cause a little bit of problems between Daniel Bryan and Edge, because Daniel Bryan would then insert himself into the match at WrestleMania. Things didn't get much better for the Raw champion either.
No.
Because Riddle, who had just appeared on the main roster, would win the United States Championship from Bobby Lashley in a triple threat match, which was supposed to feature, if I remember correctly, Keith Lee.
But Keith Lee was unfortunately sidelined.
So they put in John Fired.
Elvis known as Chuck Morrison. We also then had again, unemployed Nia Jax and Jenna Mason retain their SmackDown Women's Tag Team titles against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
Yes, because at this point, Bianca Belair had already decided that she would be challenging Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. And I don't know why WWE has a habit of putting WrestleMania opponents into tag team matches together.
I don't know, because as we always say, it never ends well.
Then we had the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match, which Drew McIntyre managed to escape from with the championship. But then, as a result of being pissed due to John Morrison costing Bobby Lashley the United States Championship, supposedly an agreement was reached backstage.
Yes.
So Bobby Lashley attacks Drew McIntyre after the match, allowing The Miz to cash in the Money in the Bank contract, which would then lead to a WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley and The Miz. Let's just say The Miz tried to get out of a couple of times.
Yes. In typical heel fashion.
But Bobby Lashley would ultimately claim the WWE Championship. That in a very interesting motion into effect for WrestleMania. But we had one more stop on the road to WrestleMania, and that was Fastlane.
And again, once again, it was still inside the ThuderDome.
Some of the main storylines that would lead them into WrestleMania from Fastlane was Big E's rivalry with Apollo Crews over the Intercontinental Championship.
Yes.
They were still teaming up Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
And they were also teasing a little bit of a rivalry between Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton.
Yes.
But then ultimately leading to Randy Orton versus The Fiend.
Yes, let's not go there.
Let's not.
And then there was another Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan match, which would then lead to the ultimate match of WrestleMania. WrestleMania.
Which would come out of the ThuderDome and head to the Raymond James Stadium.
Where it was supposed to be in 2020, but was obviously pulled to the Performance Center. Hopefully never again. Are you listening, COVID? Will you play nice?
Hang on, no, you said it wrong. Allow me. So we head over to night. Unfortunately, that first night there was a bit of a weather.
Yes, weather delay. That's the first time that's happened in WrestleMania history. Oh, and side note, it appears that WrestleMania may be switching permanently to a two-night event because, at least as of now, next year's WrestleMania is scheduled to be a two-night event from AT&T Stadium.
So, let's go you through night one.
Night one started with a WWE Championship match with Bobby Lashley taking on Drew McIntyre and ultimately defeating him.
Yes.
In a complete and utter botch fest. And this isn't anything against the women in the match, but
No.
Natalya and Tamina would win a tag team turmoil match to get a women's tag team championship match on night 2.
Cesaro would go one over on Seth Rollins, putting that rivalry to bed.
Well, not quite. AJ Styles and Omos, who are, as of the time of this recording, no more,
Mm-hmm.
would defeat the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships.
Braun Strowman would absolutely destroy Shane McMahon in the steel cage, which would, we'll get onto later, would be his final match in WWE.
Well, not quite. I believe he had a match at Backlash. In a surprisingly good match, Bad Bunny teamed up with Damian Priest to face the team of The Miz and John Morrison.
And Bianca Belair, despite a commentary botch by Michael Cole, Bianca Belair would win the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yes, and Bianca Belair would go on to have a fairly decent couple of months of the title, which ended, as we'll get in a funny way as we get to.
Now we move on to the next night, on April 11th.
Randy Orton, with a little bit of help from Alexa Bliss, defeated The Fiend.
In a match that was not very well received by fans because of the decision of me over instead of The Fiend.
The whole thing in general was weird.
Yes. Again, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler would retain their women's tag team titles against Natalia and Tamina.
Kevin Owens defeated real-life friend and long-time rival Sami Zayn. And for some bizarre reason they had Logan Paul involved in this. Didn't make any sense.
But he got stunned at the end of the match by Kevin Owens.
The Celtic Warrior Sheamus would defeat Riddle to win the United States Championship.
Apollo Crews in a Nigerian drum fight.
With a little bit of help from Commander Aziz,
aka Babatunde, would win the Intercontinental Championship.
Rhea Ripley would defeat Asuka to become the Raw Women's Champion.
And become a 3-time Women's Champion in the process.
And then Roman Reigns, with the Usos, would defeat Edge and Daniel Bryan by pinning both of them.
At the same time.
Things got a little bit interesting after WrestleMania, on SmackDown specifically, before we got to Backlash. Because on the April 30th episode of SmackDown, Roman Reigns would once again challenge Daniel Bryan for the face, I should say, Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship.
Yes.
In a championship versus career match.
Which, unfortunately, Roman Reigns managed to win the match.
Yes, and then it was reported on the 4th of May that Daniel Bryan's contract with WWE had expired. And they were negotiating back and forth, but a couple of months later, Daniel Bryan would make an appearance on a company that does not be named on this show.
Yes.
So then we go to WrestleMania Backlash, or as we like to call it, simply Backlash, which was an unfortunate return to the ThuderDome.
Yes, unfortunately.
So
going into the match, we had this.
Rhea Ripley. Sheamus defeated Ricochet in a pre-show match. Yeah.
Onto the main stuff, as we said.
Rhea Ripley successfully defended the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka and the returning Charlotte.
Yes. Ray and Dominic would retain would win their championships.
By defeating Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, becoming the first ever father-son tag team champions in WWE, or wrestling history in general from what I know.
And in a WTF moment, I can't believe this is going to come out by now, we had a lumberjack zombie match.
Oh, don't.
That is a way we're putting that rivalry to bed.
That was almost as bad as the eye for an eye match,
which we will mention, which we did mention in our previous look back at 2020 show.
Bianca Belair would defend the SmackDown Women's Championship successfully against Bayley.
Bobby Lashley would retain his WWE Championship against Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre.
And this, I believe, was Strowman's last match in WWE.
Before being let go due to budget cuts.
And even though he has not been used in this way since then, Cesaro got an opportunity at the Universal Championship.
But was unsuccessful in gaining the championship.
We had an unfortunate event between WrestleMania Backlash and Hell in a Cell, because it looked like we were going to get a Bianca Belair Bayley Hell in a Cell match. Well, but around this time, actually, we did get the Bianca Belair Bayley Hell in a Cell match, but also after that, Bayley would suffer an injury, which has sidelined her for the rest of the year, and for the first part, at least, of 2022, whether she turns up at the Royal Rumble or before then, we don't know yet.
And speaking of Hell in a Cell, that's what we're heading to now, which would be the final pay-per-view to feature at the ThuderDome.
As of now, and that's a very strong possibility of return, I think.
Unfortunately, yes, but that's in the story for another time.
So,
and speaking of that Hell in a Cell match, as we said, Belair retaining against Bayley.
Seth Rollins had another match with Cesaro, which this time he was able to pick up the win in.
Yes.
Alexa Bliss defeated Shayna Baszler after Shayna Baszler went a bit cuckoo.
Yes, a bit of mind games. Yes, mind games.
Sami Zayn picked up a win against Kevin Owens, whilst Charlotte Flair defeated Rhea Ripley by disqualification, which meant that she could not win the championship. And then there was the last chance Hell in a Cell match between Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, in which...
And that would mean that Drew McIntyre would have no more opportunities at the WWE Championship whilst Bobby Lashley was champion.
Too bad the Lashley isn't champion anymore, isn't it? And the fact that McIntyre's on SmackDown now.
Yes. But now we move...
Well, before we move on, you may have noticed the lack of Roman Reigns on this show. For Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Well, he was busy with the Mysterios, and they decided to have a Hell in a Cell match on SmackDown rather than the actual pay-per-view.
Yes, which angered a lot of the networks. Now we head to our first live crowd pay-per-view of 2021, Money in the Bank from Fort Worth, Texas.
In the pre-show to this match, the Usos would win the SmackDown Tag Team titles from the Mysterios.
Nikki ASH, out of nowhere, at least this time I can say it, would win the Women's Money in the Bank by beating Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Natalya, Tamina, and Zelina Vega.
AJ Styles and Omos defeated the Viking Raiders in the Raw Tag Team Championship match.
Bobby Lashley would literally squash Kofi Kingston by technical submission for the WWE Championship.
Charlotte Flair would defeat Rhea Ripley to win the Raw Women's Championship, this being the second time in just over a year that Charlotte had defeated Rhea Ripley for a championship, having done it after winning the 2020 Royal Rumble match. However, too bad that reign only lasted a day. Because
of the late nights on Raw, Nikki ASH would cash in and win.
then the men's Money in the Bank ladder match also played a key role. Things that would happen moving on. And Big E would win the match by defeating Drew McIntyre, who was basically dragged out of the match by Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, pretty much.
John Rawson, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura,
As you did know back then.
Ricochet, Riddle, and the man who didn't believe he should be in the match at all, Seth Rollins.
And Big E would win the contract.
Then we would go to the very interesting main event. Now, we said earlier that Edge won the Royal Rumble, but he never got his one-on-one match with Roman Reigns.
No.
Until now. And let's just say, if it wasn't for Seth Rollins, who was extremely pissed at not being included in the Universal Championship picture, and is still slightly pissed with the way that the WWE Championship picture is going on at the moment.
Yes.
Hadn't gotten involved in this, and Edge could quite easily have won the match.
And something bigger would happen at the end of the Roman Reigns Edge match.
Oh yeah.
With the certain someone.
Yes, Roman Reigns decided to tell the entire world to acknowledge him, except he was interrupted by 16-time world champion and the Peacemaker.
John Cena.
Yeah.
Who immediately challenged Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at our next pay-per-view, SummerSlam.
Yes, Viva Las Vegas.
Of course.
At the Allegiant Stadium.
In Paradise, Nevada.
So, here had Big E defeats Sad Corbin
As he was known back then.
in the pre-show match. And then the unlikely team, which had developed and undeveloped,
Yes.
of Rated Arcade Bro defeated AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championships.
Alexa Bliss would defeat even one due to putting their rivalry quickly to bed.
Damian Priest would defeat Sheamus for the United States Championship.
The Usos, otherwise now known as the Bloodline, would retain their SmackDown Tag Team titles against the Mysterios. But now this is where things get a little bit
Yes.
intense.
So initially advertised was a WrestleMania rematch between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That was then changed on the day of SummerSlam to Bianca Belair versus Carmella.
So the two women get in the ring. The match is about to begin when we hear the music of the man, Becky Lynch.
Don't you mean Big Time Bex?
Either way.
So basically, Becky Lynch comes down, gets rid of Carmella. And challenges Bianca Belair to a match. There's a handshake, elbow to the face, rock bottom, you're welcome, Lynch. 1, 2, 3, the winner of the match and new SmackDown Women's Champion in 26 seconds, Becky Lynch.
Yes. And that rivalry would still continue into today.
Yes, even though it's kind of been put on hold at the more present moment.
Yes. Charlotte Flair will
unfortunately... Before we get to that, after being dragged out by Rhea and Shanky and Jinder Mahal from the Money in the Bank ladder match, Drew McIntyre had his eyes set on Payback.
Yes, and these two were former tag team partners.
As my partner was about to say, unfortunately, Charlotte Flair would take back the Raw Women's Championship from Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley.
Edge would defeat Seth Rollins one-on-one.
Yes, that match was built up around the whole Seth Rollins getting involved in Money in the Bank situation.
But then this next match would start a little mini feud between Lashley and Goldberg.
Yes, and it was won by Lashley by referee stoppage. But then Lashley kind of crossed the line.
By putting his hands on Goldberg's son, caged in the hurtlock.
Yes. Then we got Roman Reigns versus John Cena.
Well, this match had a special stipulation that if Reigns lost the match, not only would he lose the Universal Championship, that he would have had to leave WWE in the process. But
that's not the headline of the show, though, is it?
No, because unfortunately Reigns retains championship.
Even that's not the true headline. Because Roman Reigns is standing over John Cena, having just won the match with the Universal Championship, when making his return to the WWE for the first time since WrestleMania 36, is, as Pat McAfee described him, the alpha male of our species, the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar.
Jesus Christ. Yes, he came down, ponytail as well. Comes down and confronts Brock Lesnar, but as someone off the air, he decided to attack John Cena and introduce the Suplex.
Yeah, well. And then we go to Extreme Rules.
And no, we got rid of that horror show Extreme Rules tagline as well to boot.
Yes, now at this point, things started to get a little bit tense between some people.
Yes.
For starters, on the September 13th episode of Raw, following a successful title defense against Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley found himself on the wrong side of a cash-in.
Yes.
Then also we had the unlikely pairing of Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley become the women's tag team champions.
Yes.
And at mid-August, Shinsuke Nakamura would become the Intercontinental Champion.
Of course. Moving on to our the Extreme Rules way, for some reason we had a 6-man tag match that the New Day managed to win.
Well, yeah, first of all, Bobby Lashley was pissed because he lost the WWE Championship to Big E.
Yes.
And Styles and Omos was dealing with Kingston and Woods in some situations.
Yes.
On the other side of SmackDown, the Street Profits found themselves going after the Usos. In what would be an unfortunate defeat for them, the Usos not likely to lose the tag team titles until we have a better knowing of when Roman Reigns is going to lose.
Charlotte Flair would retain her Raw Women's Championship against Alexa Bliss in what would be her final match as her Little Miss Bliss character.
At the moment, yes. Damian Priest would retain the United States Championship in a triple threat match with Jeff Hardy, who at that point was still employed by WWE. And Sheamus.
Bianca Belair beat Becky Lynch by disqualification due to Bianca Belair accidentally hitting the referee with a steel chair.
And The Fiend was not, the Demon, Finn Balor, not quite enough to topple over Roman Reigns.
Just after the top turnbuckle.
We shall be right back.